So we're going to go ahead and dive into the scriptures and explore and talk about some fruit today. But before we get started with that, I want to go ahead and just, while I have the mic and I'm up here, I want to just have a few words of appreciation for our pastor, because today is his last day with us for a while. He's going to go and he's going to move away, but he's going to be in spirit and he's going to be here. But Pastor David, we love you, and you're an awesome guy. You know, I guarantee you, years ago, before I ever thought, or he had the thought to move to Missouri, if someone said, like, hey, you're going to head a congregation at some point, he'd be like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to go do music, man. But you did it just with such an incredible heart. That's the most important thing. Your heart's incredible. You are just such an amazing example to us of what it's like to just be real and to love people, not worry about how flashy this gets, how big this gets, and all those things, which I can imagine is quite a temptation sometimes when you're standing up here, right? Because you want to do right by the Father, right? You want to grow it, but sometimes we get a little bit beyond the Father, and we try to put ourselves in front of him, and we try to do things our way, and, well, y'all know, sometimes that falls apart. So, you've just been an amazing example. Thank you. Yeah, give him a round of applause. He's over there like, stop. So, I want to go ahead and recap a little bit on what we've talked about so far when it comes to the fruit of the Spirit. So far we've gone over gentleness, we've gone over joy, we've gone over long-suffering, and faithfulness. And that's like totally in the right order, by the way. I don't know if you follow that, but it's been amazing, and I have received inspiration from the Father through multiple things. It's been through children's books. It's been through family reunions. Love those. It's been through road trips, work, just life. Okay, it's been life. And as a husband and a father, I'm beginning to learn that there is inspiration everywhere, every moment, every day. The Father is always using everything to talk to us. And so be on the lookout, all right? I think, Mike, you said that a little bit today, right? There's always a reason. There's always something every day. The Father is always speaking. And so we're going to go ahead and begin in Galatians 5:22. You've all heard this. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. See, I told you we're doing them in the right order. It's perfect. Now, I'm trying to do it in his order, in my life. It's kind of how it's working right now. Against such, there is no law, which basically just means there is no boundary, right? There's no limitation. There's no limit to how much joy you can have in your life, or how much shalom you can have in your life, or how much you can love. Don't let anyone tell you there is. So I want to go ahead. I had an idea, and even that picture is really, really nice, but it is hard to see. So we're going to do something. When I was in professional baseball, we used to visualize a lot. We'd visualize ourselves going through the game, and before we would kind of start our routine, we would always begin with some kind of a peaceful, just place. So we're going to do that together. How's that sound? All right, close your eyes. I do this to my family. Friday nights, I always tell them to close their eyes right before we go about doing the Shabbat blessings. And what I have them do is I have them breathe. So I want you to breathe first. Let's just go ahead and breathe. Close those eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Breathe in and out. And what I want you to do, keep your eyes closed. I want you to just go ahead and I want you to just picture yourself on like the most incredible beach ever right now. Just you got sand in between your toes and you can hear the waves crashing in. It is just paradise. You can feel the sun over your body right now. It's warm. And we're starting to kind of feel that ourselves finally, right? Spring is finally here. Thank you, Yahweh. But I want you just to sit there in that moment. You're relaxing in this like most comfortable hammock ever. And I just want you to go ahead and I just want you to experience that moment. Now, most people would sit there. You can open your eyes. I don't know if that worked for you, but that's something we used to do all the time as athletes before we would go about getting ready for battle. But, peace. We're going to talk about peace today. And most people connect peace to what we just went through, right? I'm on an oceanfront beach and, I'm in a hammock, sun's on me. It's amazing, all right? Peace is a very common word in the English that means very many different things to very many different people. It can refer to not only the absence of conflict, but also to the presence of something else, something greater. Today we're going to explore what the scriptures have to say about peace, how we obtain a biblical peace, and how it all leads to the life of Messiah. So what does peace mean? Does it mean just being on a beach? Peace can mean quietness, tranquility, calmness, restfulness, time without conflict. In the Greek, peace, which is eirene, it is defined as having peace of mind, security, safety, and prosperity, which is pretty similar between the English and the Greek. Now, in the Hebrew, it gets a little bit more complex. Peace, or shalom, which comes from the root word shalem, is defined as wholeness, completeness, not lacking anything. It's about restoring something that was once broken or lost. And I'm going to give you an example of that, okay? In college, our mode of transportation was longboards. How many of you know what a longboard is? All right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yes, longboards. Okay, so basically what a longboard is it's like a skateboard without all like the rebelliousness, all right? It's long, it's a cruiser, it's built for hills, it's built for speed. You just carve the sidewalks. It's an amazing, amazing thing. And that was our mode of transportation in college. Our campus was basically in the valley, north of Los Angeles, and so what we would do is we would have a condo, and we would go ahead and just ride all the way down to campus. And one day, I couldn't find my board, and I'm late to school. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. Well, so my buddy's board is right there in the dining room, and it's brand spanking new. He just got it for his birthday from his parents. It's a sweet Sector 9 board, and so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I want it. Then I was like, man, I'm gonna be late to school. I've got a test today. You know what? It's gonna be okay. I'll use it, I'll borrow it, and then I'll go ahead and just bring it back. I'll put it back and make sure that he doesn't even know that I used it. And so I grab it, and it is fantastic. I'm just flying down towards campus, and it's amazing. But then once you get to campus, things get a little chaotic because there's 35,000 people on campus. Not all at once, but they're all just walking around everywhere. And so what you have to do is you got to make sure that you just kind of like look out in front. It's kind of like when you're driving down the highway, right? You just got to see people walking and make sure that you just don't run anyone over. So you're sitting there, and you're just carving in and out of the crowds. And as I'm going through the middle of the campus, all of a sudden this girl doesn't see me. And she's sitting there just walking normal. The next thing you know, she like stumbles or falls or something. I don't know. But she goes right in front of me. So I have to bail instantly. I just go diving off the board so I don't kill her. And the board just goes flying away from me. And I'm like, no. And there's a street that goes right through the campus, like a main street. So there's traffic. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, the board's going to get ran over. Oh my gosh. Like my worst nightmare is happening right now. And so board's going, enters the street, exits the street, nothing. I'm like, oh my God, yes. And then I just sit there, and I wasn't paying attention. I was so excited that it made it through without getting ran over that I get up, I pick my stuff up, I ask the girl if she's okay. She's cool. And so I decided to go ahead and start running towards the board. Well, as I cross the street and I get the board, all of a sudden I notice the nose of the board is like just destroyed. I'm like, what? Like it made it through the street. Well, there was a curb, right? There was a curb, and the board had hit the curb. The board was flying. All right, I was flying. And so basically I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How am I gonna handle this? And so basically what ends up happening is I take it, I go through class, I like bomb the test because I'm frustrated. And so I get back home and I put it back there, and I don't know how to tell them. Like, I borrowed your brand new board and I took it from you and it's destroyed. Even though it's a really good story because, I missed the girl and it missed the cars. But Well, he ends up like getting home before we can have a conversation, and I come in, and he's lost it. He's like crying. He's depressed. That's his baby. And I go up to him. He's like, who did this? I'm like, I don't know. Who did that? I was, excuse me, I was living as a heathen back then, so. But let's just say this. Eventually I told him, and the shalom between us, gone, right, after that. Like, now, after studying the Word and kind of growing with the Father, there is a remedy to that. You can restore something that is broken. And when you restore something that is broken, you bring shalom. So there you go, my longboard story for you, if anyone cares. So far we have an understanding of peace, and it's time without conflict. It could be a state of welfare, tranquility, wholeness, not taking your roommate's longboard for a joyride and smashing it. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to dive through the scriptures, and we are going to look at how we can obtain peace, how we can obtain shalom. So we're going to go ahead and start in Leviticus 26, 3 through 6. If you want to follow along with me, I'll give you a chance. Get some water. Leviticus 26, 3 through 6. If you walk in my statutes and you keep my commandments and perform them, then I will give you rain in its season. The land shall yield its produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Your threshing shall last to the time of vintage, and the vintage shall last till the time of sowing. You shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land safely. I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none will make you afraid. I will rid the land of evil beasts, and the sword will not go through your land. So basically, Yahweh's talking to Israel, and he's letting them know that when they are going to go into the land, that if they follow after him, if they keep his statutes, if they keep his commandments, then he is going to bless them and the land. He's going to rain his shalom all over the place. They would not experience fear. They wouldn't experience famine. Yahweh would be able to get rid of all the beasts. They would not lack anything, literally nothing. Psalm 119, 165 is where we're going to go next. This is a quick one. Great shalom have those who love your law, your instructions, and nothing causes them to stumble. Great shalom have those who love your instructions. And Isaiah 26, 3. Isaiah 26, 3. You will keep him in perfect shalom, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. So all those, what an amazing promise from the Father right there. To have peace, to have rest, simply by being obedient and keeping Israel, keeping their mind on the Father. Now here is the million-dollar question for you. Did Israel experience perfect peace? Anyone want to answer? No. Yeah, no. Moments, right? There were moments. We'll give them that, right? But no, for the most part, they were being conquered. They were taken into exile. They were experiencing famine. And they ultimately had the relationship with the Creator broken, right? The covenant was broken. Now, when we read about Israel, remember the words of Paul in 1 Corinthians 10, 11, when he says this, all these things happened to them, to Israel, as examples, and they were written for our instruction, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Okay, Israel is our example, but it's much more than that too. I've learned this the last couple of years. Israel is our story because we're Israel. We're grafted in. Their history is our history. And if history repeats itself, and this is what they're going through, well then guess what? It's probably something we deal with as a body today. And this is something that is really important for me because, as always, I'm going to go through something and then be inspired and then be restored, and then it usually comes out in a teaching. And so this whole message greatly impacted my life a couple weeks ago, and I'm really excited to share it with you. I really am. I pray the Father blesses it, and I pray that it just gives you shalom today. So a couple weeks ago, I noticed myself, and I'm a pretty joyful, full of energy kind of guy. I'm not just like that on stage, or I'm like that away from here. But lately, that's been starting to change a little bit, and I can't put my finger on it, and this is going to sound really petty, so whatever. I'm going to let it go, okay? I'm a director now at my job. I've been a director, and now I'm overseeing multiple people, and our mission's growing and expanding, and it's a great mission, right? I work in sports, and our goal is ultimately to basically give youth sport athletes the 3D experience. What is the 3D experience? Well, the 3D experience focuses not only on physical development of athletes and the emotional development of athletes, but also the spiritual development of athletes. Like, our goal is to make sure that kids understand that at the end of the day, there's a greater purpose in their life than throwing a ball around, right? Than swinging a bat. At the end of the day, the Creator allowed them that opportunity to be able to grow, because there's a lot in sports that goes hand in hand with this book, by the way. For some of you who played sports, you would know that. A lot of the lessons we learn in sports comes from the Father himself. But there's more than sports. Their identity is in something else rather than just sports. It's in him. And so it's a great mission, but it's growing, and it's growing fast. And with that comes more responsibility. With that comes more anxiety sometimes, a lot more workload. And those are good things, but there's times where I'm like, woo, hang on. Mike, I know you know what I'm talking about. No, yours is like 1,000 times more than what I'm dealing with. Business owners, God bless you. All right. You know, I have 2 little ones. I have 2 toddlers right now. I'm so thankful the Castillos aren't here because they think I'm whining right now. But I got 2 little ones. They're close in age, and Lindsay, my wife, she is actually working right now. She found a really cool place to work a couple days a week, so that means I get to be on daddy duty some of the days. So there's times where I'm just at home, and I'm like, wow. You know, I'm trying to grow in my talents. I'm trying to do right by the Father and doing well in my work. I'm trying to raise and teach and train these children. I'm trying to do it all at the same time. Like, this is tough. Again, you that have older kids are laughing at me right now. That's okay. Let me go through this right now. So I'm just getting a little bit more anxious than I normally am, and there's times where I even feel like I don't know if it's depression or something. It's not depression, but you know, I'm not as happy as I normally am. And full disclaimer, I am not saying that peace and happiness go hand in hand together, okay? Because they don't. In fact, most of the time when people feel peace is when they're going through hell, right? When they're going through some kind of tribulation that they know that it's only because of the Father that I'm still alive and I'm still breathing in this moment. It's not when everything's great and happy and wonderful. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, what is going on with me right now? Like, I am missing something. I am lacking something. I'm like, just, you know, I say it's to be slow to anger. Sometimes I'm the opposite, right? Slow to speak, just something, things that I've like never done before. And so I'm like, I need some Yahweh in my life. It's pretty much what was happening. So here's the deal, all right? When we look at Israel and we look at them not experiencing shalom, it stemmed from them not walking in his ways. And so that was the first question that I went to, like, Father, am I not walking in your ways? You know, I'm keeping and honoring the Sabbath. Right? I'm eating according to your diet, right? I'm doing the feast days. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. But here's the truth. Yahweh's ways are way more than just Sabbath keeping and kosher eating and festival partying, right? Yeah. So much more than that, right? It's spiritual. His ways are spiritual. His ways include these types of fruit, right? Patience, love, joy, all these things that we're talking about. And Paul says that. Paul says it in Romans 7. He says that the law is spiritual. And in Romans 8, he writes that the flesh is hostile to Yahweh because it does not submit itself to his instructions. So what's the opposite of the flesh? The Spirit, right? So by default, living by the Spirit then is to submit to the Father's ways, and it goes beyond just the physical keeping the commandments. It's everything to do more with the heart, with the attitude, and so that is somewhere I know that I'm continually learning to grow, and I just want to make sure that my life's bearing good fruit. And so I'm being challenged on that right now, but I know that I can overcome. Here's where the big shift was for me, though, all right? When I was reading Isaiah 26:3, that was it for me. You know, you will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. That one's huge. That one's the big one for me. My mind lately has been focusing on the daily grind, right? The hustle, the to-dos of work, the parenting, the marriage life. But I can tell you right now, okay, that I've done a very poor job the past couple of weeks of keeping my eyes, keeping my mind on the Creator. It's just the honest truth. That's what happens when you get busy. But at the end of the day, being busy is not an excuse. So what I was really experiencing was just a lack of peace in my life. I did not have shalom in my life. So how do I get peace back? That was my next question. Okay, I see why I don't have peace in my life. How do I get it back? Is it even possible to get it back? And the answer is quite simple. Messiah and yes. Colossians 1:19 through 23. This is a good one. This is amazing. I can't believe I haven't read this more often. Colossians 1:19 through 23. For it pleased the Father that in him all the fullness should dwell, and by him to reconcile all things to himself, by him, whether things on earth or things in heaven, having made peace through the blood of his cross. And you, who once were alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works. That's a tough one, isn't it? You know, when you think about that, to live in opposition to the Father's ways makes you an enemy. Like, that's intense when you think of it that way. I'm an enemy when I choose to live by this of the Creator. I don't think people see it that way. I know that I don't see it that way sometimes, right? But once you start to read that and you go like, wait a minute. If I did make this choice versus this choice, this puts me in opposition to the Creator. It makes me an enemy. Makes you think twice then. You double think that. You go, no, I'm going this way. Right? Spirit tells you, go that way. Don't be an enemy. Yet now he has reconciled in the body of his flesh through death to present you holy and blameless and above reproach in his sight. If indeed you continue in the faith, grounded and steadfast, and are not moved away from the hope of the good word which you have heard, which was preached to every creature under heaven. Here's the deal. Our opportunity to get back into shalom has been reestablished through the Prince of Peace. That's how we get it, right? It's how Israel gets back into it. That's how we get back into it. It's through the Prince of Peace. I was able to go before the Creator and repent to the Creator. I'm sorry that these last couple of weeks, I've allowed my life and my petty situations, first world problems, right? My petty situations to keep me from keeping my mind on you. May you please restore me, bring back shalom into my life. You know, and he did. He did. It was easier to breathe. PJ and Leah would do something and I wasn't like losing my mind. You know, I was like, that is nice artwork right there. Good job. Real encouraging. Don't worry, you'll help clean the walls with me. Come on. Doesn't mean my job got any easier. Doesn't mean being a parent got any easier. Doesn't mean life got any easier. It just means that I had a different state of mind of who was on my mind. Instead of my thoughts being, I have to provide for my family, I'm being elevated in my job, it's got much more opportunities, but it's stressful, I need to work on being a better husband, I need to work on being a better father, I have to continue to build the talents you've given me. Instead of those kind of thoughts running through my head, they've become, Yahweh is going to provide for my family. Yahweh is going to make me a better husband. Yahweh is going to make me a better father. Yahweh is going to build my career if it's his will for my life. So that's how it's switched. So here's a biblical formula. Because the Messiah is reconciling us to Yahweh through his life, we have the opportunity to A, keep Yahweh's commandments, plus B, keep our mind stayed on him, which equals shalom. There it is. Right? Biblical formula. So here's a question for you guys then. If that's the formula and peace is attainable through Messiah, why is it so important? Why is it necessary in our walk with the Creator? Philippians 4, 6 through 7. I'm grabbing water. You go there. Philippians 4, 6 through 7. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to the Father. And the peace of the Father, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds through Yeshua Messiah. It's the peace of the Creator and Messiah that will guard our hearts and our minds. What does that mean? Most of the time, whether it was in my recent experience, if we look at Israel and they're stumbling, most of the time, it's through fear. It comes from when we doubt that we are complete with the Creator. One of the ultimate examples of this, probably the greatest example of this, is in Numbers 13, right? With the 12 spies. Numbers 13:30. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, "Let us go up at once. Let's take possession, for we are well able to overcome it." But the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." Now, first things first, these dudes just didn't go to Moses. They went and they told the whole congregation. They wanted to freak everybody out. But Caleb's over here like, come on, guys. We can do this. Look what the Father has already done for us already. He's promised this land. Doesn't matter what's there. He said we will get it. We will get it. Now, there's something interesting that I learned, and I learned it through Chris Knight, who's one of our brothers who works for Love for Yeshua Ministries. And it was on this passage, "For they are stronger than we." So apparently in the Hebrew, it can read like this. They are stronger memenu, okay, which I imagine would be than we. But depending on the vowel points, it could read, they are stronger mimeno. And that just takes it to a whole other ballgame. What that means is they are stronger than him. That's ultimately what they're saying, is that those challenges, those giants, are stronger than the Creator himself. The spies, aside from Joshua and Caleb, through fear, allowed the circumstances that they were in to influence their actions and their behaviors and what came out of their mouth. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they have spied out, saying, "The land through which we have gone as spies, is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are great men of stature. There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. The result of not having trust in Yahweh led not only to them losing peace, but ultimately losing the land. 40 years in the wilderness, an entire generation missing out on a promise. Our biggest struggles in life come when we allow fear and anxiety to move us versus peace and trust. Some other scriptures on shalom. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says this, "For Yahweh is not the author of confusion, but of shalom, as in all the churches of the saints." Right? Yahweh is the author of shalom. Colossians 3:15, "And let the peace, shalom, of the Father rule in your hearts, to which also you were called in one body, and be thankful." Let the peace of the Creator rule over your life. Psalm 34:14 says this, "Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it." This one's really, really awesome. Peace is not just something that you just wait around for, right? I'm just going to wait to experience peace. I'm going to wait until I'm on the ocean to finally take a breath. No, peace is something that you are called to pursue every day, no matter where you are. So when you're at work, pursue peace. Pursue shalom. When you're at family reunions, when you're around others, when you're just in Walmart, right? Pursue peace. That one's so important because that's what I was not doing. I was not pursuing anything. I was just losing it. And this goes hand in hand with almost everything found in this book, by the way. This book is not just a, hey, I accept Messiah. Okay, let's live life. Let's do my thing. It's, I'm reconciled. Now I get to pursue. I like this one. Matthew 5:9. The peacemakers. "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Yahweh's whole goal, what the whole story of the scriptures is all about, is our sin breaks the relationship, creates a gap between us and the Father. And the Father fills that gap through Messiah and through his instructions. And in that, we get restored and we experience his shalom. So when we are living to make peace with those around us, it's not just about like, let's just make sure we're like, cool. You and me, we like each other. We don't have any quarrels, right? I mean, it can mean that. Right? Paul writes that all the time, right? He's like, stop debating, stop fighting. Knock it off. Have some shalom, people. What I think it means is way deeper than that. I think it just goes, and this is my opinion, okay? This is my opinion. But being a peacemaker is not just about getting along with everybody. It's about allowing people to see their Messiah so that they can be reconciled with the Father so they can experience peace. A peacemaker is someone that allows someone else to experience peace with their Creator. And then what that does is when we do that, we are basically living out the example of our Father, of our Maker. We have the character of the Creator inside of us. That's why we're called sons of God when we are peacemakers. Paul says this in 2 Corinthians 13:11, "Finally, brethren, farewell, become complete." That's that Hebrew word shalem. "Be of good comfort, be of one mind, live in peace. Shalom. And the God of love and peace be with you. Let's go ahead and let's look at some of the words of Messiah. John 14, 25 through 27. These things I have spoken to you while being present with you. But the Helper, the Ruach, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all the things that I have said to you. Shalom I leave with you. My shalom I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Israel, when they stumbled, their hearts were troubled. They were afraid. When I look at the obstacles sometimes that I face or the challenges that I face, when you guys look at the challenges that you faced, the tribulations, there's only really two options. You can either just have complete trust and peace and keep your eyes on the Father, keep your mind on the Father, or you could have fear. You're still going to go through it, you know. You're still going to go through stuff. It's just, what are you choosing? Are you going to choose to have fear and let your heart be troubled and have your peace removed from you? Or are you going to go the other road? It's that simple. It's really hard, though, in the moment, right? It's really hard. But that's what Yeshua is saying right here. He says, let your heart not be troubled. I talk to my dad all the time, right? My dad at 23, I've talked about this before in one of my previous messages, but, you know, going through stage 4 colon cancer at 23 years old, you know, challenge. But I asked him, like, what was that like? He's like, I opened up that word, and he read about Joshua and Caleb, and he experienced the power of their words and what it led to, and he just said, I just went all in. I went all in into that. I didn't allow anything the doctor said to cause fear over my life. I just went all in. That's it. It was just, he just made that choice. I'm like, so was that peaceful? He's like, yeah, it was peaceful. Because at the end of the day, if it didn't work out, it didn't matter. I was going to be with my maker. You know? And if it works out, then I'm going to be restored or something. He'll do something. So, it's a good example for me. You know, I've been very blessed, fortunately. I've had really good health. You know, I've got 2 beautiful little ones who are doing well. And so it's you know, I've faced an obstacle, and it was in my marriage 5-6 years ago. And it was enough to break the marriage off completely. By every right, the marriage should not still be going on. But the Father put his hand in. There was redemption, restoration, and it's still there. It's still there. So I've gone through something. I know some of you out there, you've gone through more than that. Let's just make sure that we don't let our hearts be troubled. Make sure that we are not afraid. Messiah says this, and finally, this is in John 16:33. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have shalom. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. Messiah overcame the world. Because of that, we can get back with the Father. We can get back into relationship. We can allow the Spirit, the Ruach inside of us, guide us in being obedient to the Father, keeping our mind on the Father, and ultimately, regardless of trials and tribulations, experience completeness, wholeness, lacking nothing. Amen? That felt short. Is that short? No? Let's pray it up. Yeah. Father, thank you so much. Thank you for this time that we have together. Thank you for this holy day. Father, thank you for guiding me through this. Thank you for redirecting me when I was making decisions that I shouldn't have, keeping my mind off of you, not having shalom in my life. Father, letting my circumstances dictate my actions, my behaviors. Father, we thank you for your word. Your word brings hope. It brings restoration. And it brings shalom. So, Father, I just pray for everyone with the sound of my voice, both here and on online. Father, that for those who are facing a trying time right now, or for those who just feel like they're lacking something, there's something missing, they do not feel whole, they do not feel complete. I pray, Father, that you just direct them like you directed me. And I pray that they will seek you, they will keep their mind on you, they will continue to walk in your ways, both physically and spiritually. I pray that whatever we face in this life, that our hearts will not be troubled, that we will not hold on to fear, but we will hold on to trust. Trust in that your Son, Father, did overcome the world. He paid the price. He reconciled us. One day, Father, we want to see that promised land. Our desire is to rest in that land with you as our King. So may we live our lives with shalom, Father, and make it across. We pray this in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Hello everyone, Pastor David here. I hope you enjoyed the message this week. If you would like to see more messages, please go to Freedom Hill's YouTube page and join there, subscribe there, and you will see an assortment of teachings, devotionals, all kinds of great media that will help you and your family to do this thing called life, to live it in His ways and in His truth. Also, if these messages have blessed you and you would like to partner with us, you can go to our website and you will see the links where you can actually donate to help us get this word out to everyone. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next weekend. Shalom.